The rain hammered the windshield like fists of regret as I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white against the worn leather of my old Ford pickup. "Dad, why do you always have to pretend everything's fine?" Alex's voice cracked over the phone, sharp as the thunder that lit up the Nebraska sky, pulling me back from the edge of the interstate where I'd nearly swerved into oblivion. In that split second, the secret I'd buried for 20 years clawed its way up my throat. A stolen kiss under the bleachers at my senior prom, tasting of cheap whiskey and forbidden fire, and I knew, with a gut punch that stole my breath, that hiding it had cost me the one person who mattered most. I slammed on the brakes, the truck fishtailing on the slick blacktop as Alex's words echoed in my skull. He'd hung up already, but the silence roared louder than the storm, forcing me to confront the ghost I'd outrun since high school. Jamie's hand in mine, warm and sure, right before the world decided we couldn't be us. My phone buzzed again. Not him, but Sarah, my wife of 25 years. Her text a lifeline I didn't deserve. Home safe? Dinner's waiting. Guilt twisted like a knife. I'd lied to her 1,000 times about that night, about the man I'd almost been. But tonight, with Alex's pain bleeding through the line from his dorm in Chicago, I couldn't lie anymore. Not to him, not to myself. Pulling over into the gravel shoulder, the wipers slapping futilely against the downpour, I stared at the rearview mirror and saw not the lines etched by farm work and fatherhood, but the boy who'd chosen safety over soul. Alex was 22 now, adrift in a city that swallowed dreams whole, and our last fight over his phase, as I'd stupidly called it, had carved a chasm wider than the Platte River. That hidden moment with Jamie wasn't just a memory. It was the key to the lock I'd slammed shut on my own heart, and if I didn't turn it now, I'd lose my son to the same shadows that had claimed me. The storm eased as I eased back onto the road, the headlights cutting through sheets of gray like hesitant confessions. Lincoln's outskirts blurred by, neon signs for diners and motels flickering like half-remembered promises, and I let the miles unwind the spool of that long-ago spring. It was 2003, the year Brokeback Mountain hit theaters and made outcasts of us all, though I didn't know it then. I was 18, broad-shouldered from baling hay on my folks' spread outside Omaha, with a football scholarship to UNL dangling like fool's gold. Jamie was the new kid from California, all sun-bleached curls and easy laughs, transferring in mid-semester with a skateboard under his arm and eyes that saw straight through the bullshit of small-town jocks. We met at a bonfire party behind the old grain silo, the air thick with bonfire smoke and the tang of stolen beers. I was nursing a Bud Light, dodging questions about prom dates from girls who smelled like strawberry lip gloss in desperation, when he rolled up, board tucked under one arm, grinning like he owned the night. "You look like you're plotting an escape," he said, his voice carrying that lazy West Coast drawl that made my pulse stutter. I laughed it off, "Nah, just thinking about the game," but he didn't buy it, plopping down beside me on a hay bale, close enough that our knees brushed and sent a spark up my spine I couldn't name. By midnight, the crowd had thinned, embers popping like firecrackers, and we were walking the back fields, the moon hanging low over cornstalks that whispered secrets to the wind. He talked about LA beaches and shitty foster homes, how he'd learned to surf to outrun the loneliness, and I spilled about the weight of being the oldest son, the one who had to stay straight and strong for the family name. "Straight?" he echoed, smirking, but there was no mockery in it, just a quiet understanding that made my chest ache. When we reached the edge of the creek, the water black and murmuring, he turned to me, his face silvered by starlight, and said, "You don't have to carry it all alone, you know." I don't know who moved first. Maybe it was the beer, or the way his fingers grazed mine as he passed the joint we'd been sharing, or the raw honesty in his voice that cracked open something feral inside me. But suddenly his lips were on mine, soft, urgent, tasting of smoke and salt, and the world narrowed to that point of contact, electric and alive. My hands found his waist, pulling him closer, the kiss deepening into something that felt like coming home after a lifetime adrift. We broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed together, his breath mingling with mine as he whispered, "This doesn't have to end here." But it did. Dawn brought the reality of pickup trucks revving to life, dads hollering for their boys, and the terror of what they'd say if they knew. I walked away, heart hammering, promising myself it was a fluke, a one-time slip in the script of who I was supposed to be. Prom night sealed it. I'd asked Jenny Hargrove because she was sweet and safe, her curls bouncing as we slow danced to Rascal Flatts Under Paper Stars. But halfway through, with the gym pulsing to "Yeah" by Usher, I slipped out for air, the bleachers looming like a confessional. Jamie was there, waiting in the shadows, his tux rumpled, eyes shadowed with the same fear I felt gnawing at my ribs. "One more time," he murmured, and we stole that kiss, fierce, desperate, hands tangled in each other's collars, before the roar of the crowd pulled me back to the light. I returned to Jenny's side, smiling like nothing had shattered, and buried Jamie in the recesses of my mind, a ghost I'd exorcise with hard work and harder denials. College blurred into a haze of frat parties and forced hookups, the scholarship fizzling when a knee injury sidelined me for good. I met Sarah at a coffee shop off campus. She was studying nursing, all freckles and fierce optimism, the kind of woman who made you want to be better. We married young, bought a fixer-upper in the suburbs, and when Alex came along 9 months later, swaddled in a blue blanket with my eyes and her smile, I convinced myself the past was prologue, not predator. Fatherhood was my redemption. Coaching Little League, building tree houses, teaching him to cast a line in the lazy afternoons by the Elkhorn River. But cracks spiderwebbed through the facade. Alex was quiet, artistic, more likely to sketch wildflowers than toss a football, and by middle school the whispers started, "Fairy pansy," echoing the taunts I dodged by being the all-American boy. I reacted wrong. When he came home bruised from a playground scrap at 13, mumbling about a boy who'd called him out, I clapped him on the back too hard and said, "Shake it off, son. Real men don't let words like that stick." Sarah shot me a look, but I doubled down, pushing him towards sports, scouts, anything to toughen the edges I saw softening. By high school, the distance grew, him retreating to his sketchbooks and indie bands, me retreating to the garage with my tools and unspoken regrets. He left for art school in Chicago on a partial ride, hugs turning stiff, calls dwindling to obligatory check-ins. And then, last spring, the blow-up, a tearful voicemail about a boyfriend, the word gay dropped like a grenade, and my response, a fumbling, furious "This is just college confusion, you'll grow out of it," that severed the line between us. Now, 2 hours from home, the interstate unspooling toward the life I'd built on half-truths. I gripped the wheel tighter. Sarah's texts kept coming, "Miss you." Alex called earlier, sounded off. And each one was a reminder of the betrayal I'd layered on. To her with my silences, to Alex with my blindness. The exit for Omaha loomed, but I blew past it, veering north toward the old family farm where it all began. If I was going to fix this, I had to dig up the roots, show him the man I'd hidden not just from my wife, but from the mirror. The farm road was a ribbon of mud and memory, the truck's tires churning as I pulled up to the sagging porch where Dad used to sip coffee at dawn. The house was dark. Mom and Dad long gone to a condo in Florida, but the barn light flickered on a timer, casting long shadows over the fields where Jamie and I had walked. I killed the engine, rain pattering on the roof like hesitant applause, and stepped out into the chill, the air sharp with ozone and earth. My phone buzzed. Alex again. A single text. "I'm sorry. Just talk to me." And it undid me. I sank onto the porch steps, the wood creaking under my weight, and let the sobs come, raw and ragged, the first honest tears in decades. In the quiet after, I dialed him back, the ringtone a lifeline across state lines. "Dad." His voice was small, wary, the boy I'd failed peeking through the man he'd become. "Alex," I started throat thick. "There's something I need to tell you. About me. About why I'm like this." The words tumbled out then. The bonfire, the creek, the kiss under the bleachers. A confession unspooling like thread from a frayed seam. He listened, breath hitching at the key turns, and when I finished, the silence stretched, not empty but charged, like the air before lightning. "Why didn't you say anything?" he whispered finally, not accusation but ache. "Because I was scared." I admitted, the truth tasting like freedom. "Scared of losing everything, the farm, Sarah, you. But hiding it? That lost me you anyway." He laughed then, a watery sound that cracked the storm clouds in my chest. "I'm gay, Dad. Have been since forever. And I thought, I don't know, that you'd hate me for it." The words hung there, a bridge forming over the chasm, and I gripped the phone like a talisman. "Never, son. Never that." We talked till the battery warned low, about his ex in Chicago, a sculptor with tattoos and trust issues, about the sketches he sent me once, full of longing I hadn't seen, about prom nights and the boys we both pretended not to notice. Dawn crept in, painting the horizon pink, as I promised to drive up that weekend, to meet this world he'd built without me. "And Mom?" he asked, hesitant. "We'll tell her together," I said, the weight lifting. Sarah deserved the truth too, not as a bomb but a bomb. Back on the road south, the sun breaking through like a benediction, I felt the pieces shift. Not perfect, but possible. That hidden moment, once a shackle, had become the map home. The kitchen light spilled warm across the linoleum as I eased the door open, Sarah's silhouette moving like a familiar melody at the stove. She turned, wiping flour-dusted hands on her apron, her smile faltering at the sight of me. Rain-soaked, eyes red-rimmed, carrying the ghosts of a night unconfessed. "Jack? It's after 2. What happened out there?" Her voice was steady, the nurse in her assessing, but the wife saw deeper, reaching for me as I crossed the threshold. I pulled her into my arms, burying my face in her hair that still smelled of lavender and home, and the dam broke again. Not with sobs this time, but words, halting at first, then flooding. The story of Jamie pouring out like rain I'd held back for a quarter century. She listened without interrupting, her hands on my back, tracing circles that anchored me as I spoke of stolen kisses and silenced longings, of the boy I'd buried to become the man she married. When I reached the call with Alex, the reconciliation raw and real, she pulled back, searching my face with those green eyes that had seen me through fevers and failures. "Jack Harlan," she said softly, no anger, just a quiet wonder. "You've been carrying this alone all this time?" I nodded, shame and relief twisting in my gut. "I thought if I said it out loud, it'd unravel us. The family, the life. You." She cupped my cheek, thumb brushing a tear track. "Idiot. We've unraveled plenty. Kids, mortgages, that damn tornado in '09, and stitched back stronger. This is just another thread." We stood there, foreheads touching, the kettle whistling forgotten on the burner. And in that moment, I saw us not as the perfect American couple, but as survivors, scarred and true. She made tea chamomile, her go-to for midnight crises, and we sat at the scarred oak table where we'd planned Alex's baby shower, her hand over mine as dawn filtered through the gingham curtains. "He sounds like you know," she said, stirring sugar she didn't take. "Stubborn. Hiding hurts till they fester." I chuckled, the sound rusty. "Yeah, well, apples and trees. We mapped the weekend. Me driving to Chicago, her joining Sunday for a family dinner that felt like a fresh start. But beneath the logistics, a undercurrent pulled, betrayal's shadow. I'd lied by omission, let her love a version of me that was half-drawn. And though her grace wrapped around it like forgiveness, I felt the sting of what I'd stolen from her too. Morning brought the farm's rhythm, cows lowing in the distance, the coffee percolator gurgling like an old friend. I texted Alex a photo of the sunrise over our back 40. Caption: "See you soon. Love, Dad." His reply, a heart emoji simple as salvation, hit like sunlight after eclipse. Sarah kissed me goodbye for her shift at the clinic, whispering, "Be gentle with him. And yourself." I nodded, throat tight, and hit the road east, the interstate a silver vein pumping toward redemption. Chicago greeted me with its chaos, horns blaring, the lake wind whipping off Michigan Avenue like a challenge. Alex's dorm was a walk-up in Wicker Park, graffiti-splashed brick and buzzing with the energy of 20-somethings chasing art and absolution. He buzzed me up, the door swinging open to reveal him. Taller than I remembered, hair tousled, wearing a paint-streaked hoodie that hugged his frame. We froze for a beat, two strangers bound by blood and buried truths, then crashed into a hug that crushed the air from my lungs. "Dad," he mumbled into my shoulder, voice muffled, and I held on, breathing in the scent of turpentine and youth. His room was a riot of canvases. Bold strokes of blue and gold, figures intertwined in ways that made my heart clench with recognition. We sat on his narrow bed, the mattress sagging under us, and the floodgates opened again. He talked about Evan, the ex who'd ghosted after a gallery opening, leaving him questioning every line he'd drawn. "I thought I was overhiding," he said, picking at a thread on his jeans. "But then you get it, don't you?" I nodded, pulling out my wallet, flipping to a faded photo I'd printed that morning. Me and Jamie at the bonfire, blurry but real, his arms slung casual around my neck. This is him, the one I couldn't forget. Alex's eyes widened, tracing the lines of our younger selves, and he laughed, a real one this time, bright as the city outside. "You were cute, kinda dorky." We bantered then, easy as old times, ordering deep dish from Giordano's and washing it down with craft IPAs that loosened the knots. He showed me his latest piece. A landscape split down the middle, one half shadowed prairie, the other vibrant skyline, and I saw us in it, the divide we'd bridged. But peace is fragile, and evening brought the fracture. My phone lit up with a call from Tommy, my brother, his voice gravel rough from years of ranching. "Heard you took off last night." Sarah called, said you're spilling family secrets. "What the hell, Jack? Dad's rolling in his grave." The words landed like blows. Tommy, the keeper of the Harlan legacy, who'd married his high school sweetheart and never looked back. I stepped into the hall, voice low. "It's not like that. Alex needed to know he's not alone." Tommy snorted. "Alone in what? Your fairy tale bullshit? Keep it buried like a man should." The betrayal burned. Not just his words, echoing the small-town venom I'd fled, but the realization that blood didn't guarantee understanding. I hung up, fists clenched, and when I returned, Alex was watching, concern etching his brow. "Uncle Tommy?" I sighed, sinking beside him. "Yeah. Thinks I'm dragging the family name through the mud." His jaw tightened, that familiar Harlan steel. "Screw him. And the name. We're more than that." We clinked bottles, toasting to breaking chains, but the call lingered, a serpent in our Eden. Night deepened, the city humming below like a heartbeat, and we walked to a dive bar down the block, neon buzzing open in the window. It was a queer spot. Rainbow flags fluttering, patrons laughing in clusters that made my chest expand with envy and ache. Alex ordered us whiskeys, neat, and we found a booth scarred with initials and hearts. "This is my world now," he said, gesturing. "Messy but mine." I watched him light up, flirting harmlessly with the bartender. A guy with sleeve tattoos and a wink, and pride swelled, mingled with sorrow for the years I'd dimmed his light. As last call loomed, a guy approached, tall, with Jamie's easy smile and curls gone silver. "Alex? Long time." My son stiffened, then relaxed into a hug. "Mark. Dad, this is Mark, from that summer workshop in Iowa." Mark slid into the booth, conversation flowing like the El River in flood. He was a potter now, hands calloused from clay, and as he talked, I saw the echo. The way he leaned in, the shared glances that spoke volumes. Envy flickered, what if I'd chosen this? But I quashed it, toasting instead to second chances. Back at the dorm, buzzed and buoyant, Alex crashed early, but sleep evaded me on the lumpy couch. Tommy's words replayed, stirring doubts. Was this healing, or just reopening wounds? Dawn found me sketching idly on a napkin. Crude lines of a father and son fishing, no shadows between, and I pocketed it, resolve hardening. Sarah's train pulled in at noon, her arrival a whirlwind of hugs and takeout tie. We picnicked in Lincoln Park, under ancient oaks that whispered of endurance, and as Alex sketched her portrait, laughing at her exaggerated poses, I felt the betrayal's sting fade, replaced by something solid. Family, reforged. But climax brewed in the quiet hours. That evening, over plates of pad CW, Sarah shared her side. The suspicions she'd harbored, the therapy books she'd hidden in her nightstand. I knew parts, Jack, felt the distance, but I waited, because love isn't demanding truths. it's holding space for them. Alex reached across, squeezing her hand, and in that triangle, the conflicts converged. My secrets against their grace, the world's judgments against our quiet defiance. Tears came then, collective and cathartic, sealing pacts unspoken. As the sun dipped, painting the lake gold, we walked arm in arm, the city a canvas of possibility. Tommy could keep his graves. We'd build altars of our own. The weekend blurred into a montage of Midwestern miracles. Brunch at a Ukrainian spot in Ukrainian village, where pierogies steamed like peace offerings. A matinee at the Music Box Theater, the normal heart revving our veins with righteous fury. Lazy afternoons in Alex's studio, where I tried my hand at the wheel, clay splattering like spilled confessions. Sarah watched with that knowing smile, her presence a steady hum, while Alex's laughter filled the gaps I'd left empty. But beneath the idle tension coiled. Tommy's call had been a harbinger, and betrayal's aftershocks rippled outward. Monday morning, as I packed the truck for the drive home, my phone erupted. A voicemail from Pastor Ellis, our old church deacon, his tone oily with concern. "Jack, word's getting around. Tommy mentioned indiscretions. The congregation's praying for you, son. Come talk, before it tears the flock apart." My stomach knotted. Omaha was a web of whispers, where one loose thread unraveled reputations like cheap suits. I deleted it, but the seed planted, exposure's double edge, cutting liberator and destroyer. Alex sensed it, hugging me tighter at the curb. "Don't let them in your head, Dad. We're good." His eyes, mirrors of mine, held a fierceness I'd missed. My boy, no longer adrift. Sarah lingered, kissing his cheek. "Call your mother, mister, and visit soon, no excuses." We waved till the corner swallowed them, the city receding in my rearview like a dream half-remembered. The drive west was a reckoning, goldenrod fields blurring into amber waves under a sky vast as regret. I called Jamie on a whim, the number I dug from Facebook after my confession, a Hail Mary to the past. He answered on the third ring, voice unchanged, laced with that California lilt. "Jack Harlan? Hell, it's been centuries." We talked for miles, his life in San Francisco, a gallery owner now, married to a chef named Rico, 2 rescue dogs and a view of the bridge. "Heard echoes," he said gently, "about your boy. Proud of you, man." His absolution washed over me, but stirred the conflict's core. What if telling Alex had unleashed more than healing? By sundown, home loomed, our ranch style on Elm Street, porch swing creaking in the breeze. Sarah was in the garden, knees dirt-streaked, planting mums that defied Nebraska's first frost. She rose, brushing soil from her palms, and pulled me down beside her. "Missed you," she murmured, but her eyes searched, reading the storm clouds I'd carried back. That night, over meatloaf and Merlot, the dam cracked again. I played the voicemail, Ellis's piety grating like sandpaper, and she sighed, setting her fork down. "Tommy's been busy. Called the pastor after you hung up on him. Damage control, Harlan style." Betrayal doubled. Not just my brother's judgment, but his weaponizing of faith, the church I'd lapsed from but still haunted our holidays. Anger flared, hot and righteous. "He had no right." Sarah nodded, but her voice tempered. "He's scared, Jack, of change, of loving you less if he admits you're more." We drove to the farm the next day, unannounced, the truck kicking up dust on the gravel drive. Tommy was in the barn, forking hay, his back broad as ever under a flannel shirt faded from washes. He straightened at our approach, pitchfork pausing midair, face hardening into the mask of elder brother. "Figured you'd show." Sarah stepped forward, her calm a shield. "We're here to talk, Tom, not fight." He leaned on the tool, eyes flicking between us, the air thick with unspoken indictments. I started, voice steady despite the quake in my chest. "You went to Ellis, stirred the pot. Why?" He spat into the straw, a habit from Dad. "Because you're throwing our name to the wolves, Jack. Dad built this hard work, God-fearing life. You and your stories? It's poison." The word landed like a slap, evoking high school lockers and furtive glances, but I held ground. Poison? Or truth? Alex is gay, Tom. And so was I once. Hiding it poisoned me. Made me blind to him. His face crumpled. Not in fury but fracture. The big brother facade cracking to reveal the boy who'd idolized me. Sarah bridged it, her hand on his arm. We all hide, Tommy. Your divorce? The drinking you swear isn't a problem? That's yours to own. But judging Jax? That's not love. He deflated, sinking onto a bale, head in hands. I just don't want to lose you. The family. I sat beside him, the hay prickling through my jeans, and clapped his shoulder like we were kids again, wrestling in the loft. You won't, but you gotta let me be whole. For Alex. For Sarah. Tears tracked his weathered cheeks, and he nodded, gruff. Sorry, brother. For the call. The rest. I'll try. The reconciliation was raw. No Hallmark bows. Just a shared beer in the cooling barn. Stories of Dad's stubborn kindness cutting the tension. He promised to back off the pastor. Even join us for Thanksgiving, no sermons attached. Driving home, Sarah's hand in mine. The sunset bled crimson across the plains. A canvas of wounds cauterized. But climax crested not in words, but in the call that followed. Alex, voice trembling. Dad? The church board emailed about you. They're barring you unless you repent. Ellis's retaliation, swift as prairie fire. Rage boiled, but Sarah's grip steadied. Let it burn out. We'll find our flock. I called Alex back, piecing calm from chaos. It's noise, son. We're the signal. He exhaled, relief flooding. Evan texted. Wants to try again. Thinks. Maybe I told you too much. Laughter bubbled, shared and sharp. Nah. You told me just enough. We planned his winter break. Holiday lights in Lincoln, ice skating on the frozen ponds. And in that blueprint, the betrayal transmuted. From fracture to forge. Weeks spun into autumn's gold. Leaves carpeting Elm Street like confetti for the forgiven. Alex visited, Evan in tow. A quiet guy with kind eyes and a laugh that coaxed smiles from Sarah. We grilled burgers in the backyard. Fireflies winking approval. And Tommy showed, tentative but true, toasting with root beer to new chapters. The church rift widened. Whispers at the co-op, a pew left empty. But we found solace in a progressive congregation downtown, hymns humming with inclusion's grace. Yet the emotional undercurrent surged one crisp November eve. Alex and I drove to the old silo, bonfire crackling under stars sharp as promises. He carried marshmallows, I the kindling, and as flames danced, he pulled a sketch from his jacket. Us, silhouetted against the fire, hands linked. For the moment you gave me back, he said, voice thick. I hugged him, the boy and the man, and whispered, for the one you saved. Romance bloomed not in passion's fire, but this quiet blaze. Father to son, secrets to songs. Sarah joined later, thermos of cocoa steaming, and we sat three deep, stories weaving like smoke. The hidden kiss, once a specter, had birthed this. A family fluent in vulnerability, humanistic in its humanness. Betrayal's scars faded to stories, conflicts to constellations guiding us home. Winter clamped down on Nebraska like a stern but loving aunt, blanketing the fields in snow that muffled sins and amplified silences. Christmas approached with its freight of traditions, tinsel-twined evergreens, Bing Crosby crooning on the radio, the scent of gingerbread wafting from Sarah's kitchen like an olfactory olive branch. Alex arrived the week before, Evan bundled beside him in a wool peacoat, their fingers brushing casual as breath. The sight squeezed my heart, easy affection I'd envied. Now witnessed in my own home, a milestone marked by Sarah's apple pie and my awkward jokes about shoveling driveways. The house thrummed with life. Stockings overstuffed, board games erupting in laughter. Evan charming Tommy over chess in the den. The old grudge melting like icicles in January thaw. But under the cheer, the climax's echo lingered. The church's exile a dull ache, like a bruise pressed too hard. Ellis had sent a letter, formal as frost, barring me from youth group volunteering, citing moral clarity for the lambs. I'd crumpled it, But Alex had fished it from the trash, his artist's eye spotting the subtext. Fear, not faith. New Year's Eve, we gathered on the porch swing, blankets cocooning us against the bite, fireworks popping distant over the river. Evan raised a toast with sparkling cider, to truths that set us free, and glasses clinked, fragile as hope. But as midnight tolled, Alex pulled me aside, his face pale under the string lights. Dad, I need to tell you something. My stomach dropped, bracing for fracture, but his words upended it. Evan proposed. In the city under the bean. And I said yes. Joy exploded, hugs tumbling over explanations, but beneath bubbled the conflict's ghost. My hidden moment, the betrayal it birthed, now reframed as rite of passage. Sarah cried happy tears, plotting weddings with the precision of a field general, while Tommy grunted approval, slipping Alex a vintage watch. From Dad's drawer. Time you had it. The night spun into dawn, resolutions whispered like prayers. More visits, open lines, a family uncloseted. But betrayal's final twist came via mail. A package from San Francisco, Jamie's return address scrawled elegant. Inside, a leather-bound journal, pages filled with his sketches from our youth. Me laughing at the creek, us under the bleachers, annotations in faded ink. To the boy who taught me courage, from the man who found his. A note tucked in, heard about the prodigal. Rico and I are coming east this summer. Wedding crashers, if you'll have us. You've healed more than you know. Tears blurred the lines, and I shared it with Alex over coffee, the journal bridging generations. He looks like Evan, he said, tracing a face. Kinda. We laughed. The romance of it all, stolen kisses to sacred vows. Settling like snow, soft and sure. Spring unfurled green and generous. The wedding set for June in a Chicago loft. Exposed brick and skylights framing their vows. I walked Alex down the aisle. More a path of wildflowers in a rooftop garden than marble grandeur. His hands steady in mine, Evan's eyes shining promise. Sarah dabbed her eyes beside me, whispering, "Our boy's flying." Tommy stood sentinel. No sermons, just a nod of pride. Jamie and Rico arrived fashionably late, hugs hearty, stories flowing like vintage scotch at the reception. The dance floor pulsed to indie folk, couples swaying in the dusk, and as Alex pulled me up for a father-son spin, clumsy steps to the Lumineers, I felt the arc complete. That hidden moment, once a thorn, had blossomed. Conflict into connection, betrayal into belonging. No tidy bows. Tommy still grumbled at potlucks, the old church a closed chapter, but in the humanism of half measures grace abounded. We were flawed Americans, piecing quilts from ragged truths, romantic in our resilience. Years later, as grandchildren toddled through our yard, 2 boys with Alex's curls, 1 girl with Sarah's fire, I'd recount the tale by the fire pit, voices hushed against the cricket chorus. Your grandpa had a secret, I'd say. But it wasn't chains, it was the key. And in their wide eyes, the cycle broke. No hiding, only healing. The end? Not tragedy, nor unalloyed triumph, but the quiet victory of showing up, scarred, seen, and loved. In the heartland's vast embrace, we'd found our way home.